The map in The Lord of the Rings evokes a sense of immersion and adventure. Most of us have followed our favorite characters' journeys using it. What makes this map special is its ability to spark our imaginations as I dive deeper into this fantasy world. Arda has some mysterious regions, unknown lands inhabited by strange folk and even stranger creatures. Of particular interest are lands which lie to the east and far east of Mordor. They are the Eastlands or Rhûn. The east of the east, the lands where elves, dwarves and men first appeared. Today on Fantasy Archive we are going east. We will take a journey to the far unknown lands of Middle-earth. We are going to discover the wild lands that lie beyond Mordor, the strange people and creatures that inhabit them, and why they are little known and little traveled. When Arda or Earth was first created through the music of the Ainur, it was flat. Believe it or not, flat Earth existed in the early ages of creation. Arda during this time was lifeless and formless, a single large continent. It was mostly covered in darkness, and only a faint, misty light illuminated it. The Valar formed it symmetrically, and set two great lamps called Iluin and Ormal upon it to provide light. This is the time when forests started to grow and the first animals appeared. Then Melkor happened. His sudden attack in Arda led to the destruction of the two lamps, and also changed the layout of Arda. Two landmasses appeared, Armen and Middle-earth. A great ocean, Akaya, encircled both. The great sea, Belagar, separated both. To the far west, the Valar created their own paradise in Armen, which they called Valinor. In it they placed two great trees named Lollalin, the golden tree, and Telperion, the silver tree. These trees gave light only in Valinor, but Middle-earth lay in darkness and under the control of Melkor, which was kind of a bummer. The Valar defeated Melkor 2 more times, resulting in the destruction of the two trees by Ungoliant, and the westernmost lands of Middle-earth sinking into the Great Sea. In the Second Age after Sauron's first downfall and the drowning of Numenor, Arda was made round by Ilúvatar's will. Valinor was also removed from Arda. The new continents left are the Middle-earth, Darklands to the south, and the burnt land of the sun to the far east. Our journey to the east begins at the great inland Sea of Rhûn, which lies slightly to the northeast of Mordor. It is the westernmost feature of the lands of the east, also called Rhun. The sea is fed by the Red Water River and River Running. The sea is about 75 miles wide, with a wooden island in the middle that is about 30 miles wide. On its northeastern shore is a heavily wooded beech forest known as Neldoreth. To its southwest are some unnamed highlands. The shores of the Sea of Rhûn are home to the kin of Arda. These cattle are wild, white, and beautiful. They had great horns, and Vorondil, a steward of Gondor, made the Great Horn of Gondor after hunting down one of the cattle. It is also on the shores of the Sea of Rhûn that Norway, Serdane, the shipmaker, began developing his skills in making an elven ship. He is one of 3 elves that were given the 3 elven rings of power. He later gifted his, Narya, to Gandalf. Further east of the Sea of Rhûn lies the vast plains of the Eastlands. It was at a place known as Cuiviénen, meaning Water of Awakening, where the elves first awoke. The place lay in a gulf on the eastern shores of the great and ancient inland sea of Helcar. This sea was formed at the exact place where the northern Great Lamp had stood after the lamp's destruction by Melkor. It is speculated that the Sea of Rhûn was once a part of the Great Sea of Helcar. Following the War of Wrath, at the end of the First Age, the Sea of Helcar got emptied through the Great Gulf and basically vanished. At Cuiviénen, elves awoke to a starlit Middle-earth, but were okay with it. They lived in an ancient and mystical forest called the Wildwood, near the feet of the Orokarni. On his explorations in Middle-earth, Melkor discovered these elves before the other Valar. He brought about fear and terror, and many of the elves were forced to flee from Cuiviénen. Those who remained were taken by Melkor and enslaved or slain. After Melkor's defeat, these elves journeyed further east and became the mysterious Dark Elves. They hung around until the awakening of men and taught them the basic skills of survival. The dwarves also awoke in the east. The origins of some of the clans are said to have been in Orokarni, or Red Mountains. The Orokarni were as far east as Mount Gundabad, near the Misty Mountains, was from the Blue Mountains, way west in Beleriand. The Orokarni Mountains stretch from northeast Roof, Middle-earth, to the south, and were longer than the Misty Mountains. Most of the dwarves also chose to journey west and founded kingdoms in Middle-earth's western mountains. When Sauron filled the east with war and terror late in the Third Age, most dwarves abandoned their ancient homeland in Rhûn. The dwarves who chose to remain in the east were the first race to encounter men. Away to the southeast of Cuiviénen, in the plains known as Hildorian, men awoke. This land was specifically east of the mountains of the Wind near the shores of the East Sea. This ancient mountain range was located in the far east of Middle-earth, beyond the Orokarni, and was destroyed during the War of the Powers in the Years of the Trees during the First Age. It was at Hildorian that Finrod Felagund, Galadriel's brother, first met the races of men and gave them an alternative to the leadership of Morgoth. Just like the elves and dwarves before, some men also chose to migrate west and ended up finding kingdoms in the west. Those who remained were called the Wild Men. Part of the Wild Men were the Easterlings who roamed the vast plains in the east. Morgoth convinced them in the First Age to rebel against the Ilúvatar by reason that their mortality was a curse. During the reign of Sauron, most of the men in the east came under his control and joined him in attacking the west. There were many different human cultures in the east. Most of these formed conglomerates that traveled the expanse of the eastern lands. The most famous of these were the Rain Riders, who rode in chariots and horses. They fought numerous times with Gondor and were finally defeated and scattered to the east in the Fourth Age. The western of Middle-earth is home to some strange creatures, but none can beat the mysterious creatures that live to the east of Middle-earth. Near the outermost eastern edges of Middle-earth, before the East Sea, is the Last Desert. This harsh place is home to the wereworms, or earth-eaters. Wereworms were not just big, they were humongous. They were 400 feet long and 75 feet in diameter. One unique feature about these flightless dragons was that they had the ability of altering their shapes. There were two main types of wereworms, sandrakes and true wereworms. Sandrakes were more animalistic and could mimic the characteristics of anything they touched. True wereworms were more intelligent and used sorcery to take on the form of other things. To prove his worth, Bilbo had insisted to his traveling companions that he was willing to travel all the way to the east of the east, where the wereworms lived. Some of the forests of the east hosted ferocious animals called the Pards. These are legendary huge cats. They were so swift it was almost impossible to escape them. They normally attacked their prey from above. Eastern orcs also lived in factions in various parts of the east. They were stronger than their counterparts in the west. Having escaped the destruction of Morgoth, they roamed the east, often coming into conflict with dwarves and men. When Sauron was establishing his control over the east, he struggled with the eastern orcs, and only managed to unite the factions through their common hatred of men and dwarves. The Eastlands are often less traveled by those who live in the west. There is a lot to consider, from perils posed by known and unknown creatures, danger from powerful eastern orcs, harsh desert-like landscapes, and warm climate. Our journey ends across the East Sea. This wide mass of water separates the Middle-earth continent from the furthest continent away in the east, known as the Burnt Land of the Sun, suggesting that it may have been an uninhabitable hot desert. Little was known of this land, save for only a few mentions by Númenórean sailors who sailed in the East Sea. It was a vast and empty land, and the only geography known was a long mountain range that curved all along its coast, called the Walls of the Sun.